Hey guys, I just wanted to give you some encouragement as you're 3 weeks into the book now. And I've been thinking about some of the topics that you've covered in the first chapter about basically God has way more for you than what you've experienced so far. And in the second chapter, wandering versus traveling, you looked at things in your lives that we arrive at destinations we never intended to. And some of it is looking at what's in our garden. So I'm out here in the garden right now. And this is a little plot that we have that my family, as a birthday gift last year while I was out of town, actually did a makeover for. But you can't tell it right now. You take a look at this, there's some, there's just quite a bit of dead stuff in here. It kind of needs to be pulled up, you know, and we've got all this stuff that's been sitting here all winter, and this hasn't been tended. And in the spring, you know, we get a chance to clean some of this stuff up, get the dead stuff out, and maybe plant some new things. And when we looked at the what are you sowing and what are you reaping in chapter 2, you know, we do reap what we sow. And if you don't like the fruit that you're getting in your life, you can change what you're sowing, which is a really encouraging thought. As I look at what I've got here, I realize that there's some things that I know my wife and kids didn't plant, like this. This is not something that they planted because we don't eat dandelions. Now, some parts of the country they do, but we don't eat them. They're just a pain in the weird to deal with here. So if I want to get rid of these things, now is the time to do it. Because if I wait until they get this size, you know, you see this one is about to sprout into one of those big puff balls, and then it's going to be dandelions everywhere. Well, in our lives, a lot of times we realize that there are things that we're reaping that we don't like, and we don't want those things in our lives. Maybe we didn't even sow them ourselves, just like these weeds got here all by themselves. These are like lies in our lives that have taken root and are bringing bad fruit into our lives. If we let this thing go, we're going to have more and more of it. And that's what the flesh does in our lives when we don't deal with it, when we don't get rid of it. It just breeds more of the same. So we have an opportunity at any time in our lives to deal with these issues. Most people don't deal with their stuff until their desperation exceeds their resistance. But I want you to know you don't have to wait for some desperate time in your life, to wait until your family is falling apart, or your relationships with your kids are bad, or they're on drugs, before you make changes that can change the course of your and their lives. So I want to encourage you to take advantage of the opportunity that you have right now to make changes. In chapter 3, choosing a new destination, you get the opportunity to do that. You get the chance to say, okay, what have I been believing that is a lie? And to dig those things up and get them out by the roots. You know, some things have been there a while, and the longer that they've been there, the bigger they get, and the deeper the roots are. And you may have to dig a little bit deeper to get them out. But once you do, it allows good things that are in your garden to grow. It gives you the chance to plant some new seeds in soil that's not going to be choked out by weeds. Because if you read Mark 4, you see that's what happens with the Word when we are not anchored in the things of God and in the Spirit. We have things that choke out the Word in our lives, and we don't want that to happen. This chapter is going to talk about 5 things in chapter 3 that hold you back in your life with God. 5 anchors, a lack of vision. You know, this garden was planted with a vision once my wife took it over. And she knew what she wanted here and what was going to grow in the back and what was going to grow in the front, and had it all arranged. You need to have a vision for your life. You need to have a vision for who you are as a new creation and what God can do with that. Secondly, there's a lack of resolve in a lot of people's lives. And that shows up in lack of showing up. I mean, just show up and be here with people that can help you to grow. And that's an important part of your moving forward, is having a resolve. I am going to plant a stake in the ground. I am going to change. I am going to realize who I am in Christ and come into the calling that He has for me. Other things that can hold us back are being conformed to the world. We can just live the way that the world does and get the same results that they do. We can have unbelief and not believe the promises of God in our lives. Or we can have lies, false beliefs, believing things that are not true, and that holds us back. So I want to encourage you as you go forward to have that resolve that you're going to finish this thing, that you're going to move forward into what God has for you. And you're going to look at these weeds that God exposes and dig them up and renew your mind, because renewing your mind is the only path to transformation. It's the only path to change in your life. As you studied about Romans 12:2, it all starts with surrender to God, an incremental process. But as you surrender to Him and you make a determination, I will renew my mind, I will change my thinking, you're going to see fruit that you will not be able to believe. So be encouraged.